Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jason Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Big Three NBA podcast. Here's Sherrod Blakely. We've got Gary Washburn, and we got a special guest today filling in for the not with us today, Kwani Lunis. We got Vincent Goodwill Jr. of Yahoo Sports. Yeah, Vince, I went all government name on you. You knew that was coming. You had to know that was coming.
There's two things that y'all will never let go of, and that's one of them.
There's a long story. Gary loves that story too. Look, Gary can't even stop grinning when he's thinking about it.
He is right there. He right there. He right here. Yeah.
Well, in a nutshell, at one point, Vinny's wallet left his purse, and we were in a spot, and then
you said purse. You need to tell the purse.
As in your person. It was not on your person. Did they teach that at Eastern Michigan? I mean, I'm just saying.
Gary, I thought he meant like purse.
Yeah, I thought he meant that too.
No, I guess they didn't teach it at Cal either. Okay. Anyway, Vinny's wallet turned up missing, and we're in a spot, and they called out the person whose wallet was Vincent Goodwill Jr., and they were mad loud about it.
It was mad loud. It was mad loud. It was
funny as hell because most of us didn't realize you were a junior until that moment.
Yeah, this is people. This is people. His brothers and for life. Brother from another mother called him out. He right here. He right here. He right here. So Vinny couldn't even chill, casually walk up and get his wallet like all the people in the spot knew. Yeah. That's the dude that lost his wallet. There he is, right there, because his
I went through all the stages of grief on that, Gary. They stopped it. They was like, somebody lost their ID. I'm like, who's the fool that lost his ID?
You fool!
And it was in slow motion. It was like Vincent. I'm like, man, somebody here with the same name as me. Hi, that's interesting. And then he says Goodwill. I'm like, oh shoot, it's me. And then he says Junior, and I'm like, seriously, like both of us ain't gonna be in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my dad. What your daddy doing in here?
He knows damn well your daddy wasn't in that spot. That's the messed up part. That dude knew your father was. He didn't have to say Junior. That dude was on one. That wasn't right. That wasn't cool. That wasn't right.
Yeah,
we just added to the greatest hits, dog. We got a lot of greatest hits.
We got lots of greatest hits on Vincent Goodwill, but I want to talk about another could have been not so great hit. And I'm talking about Derrick White, Boston Celtics, Olympian, NBA champion. Had a little bit of a kerfuffle at the Colorado State game. Like any rivalry, got a little heated. Apparently, Derrick White, who, as you all know, is an alum of Colorado. And the Buffs won again over Colorado State. And I guess a Colorado State fan had some issues with that, and they got into a little bit of a tussle of sorts. Apparently, Derrick got hit in the back of the head, but there wasn't, at least before, as we came to broadcast this, there were no charges being filed, no incident report or anything like that was written up. But still, the idea that one of your best players got into a little scuffle. Nobody hurt, nobody damaged or anything like that. But what are your thoughts on that type of stuff? Because we hear stuff like this happens all the time. But what are your thoughts in general on that, particularly with Derrick White, who Derrick don't cause trouble to nobody. He might be the most popular player in the Boston Celtics locker room.
Well, maybe, I don't know, depends on popular amongst who, given the Olympics and some of these other, who made it, who didn't make it, who played, who didn't. I'm just saying. Now, I mean, you can't just be a fan at a game. You got to have somebody knocking you upside the head. Like, what happened to civility? Like, there used to be this thing, like you go to a college football game and there's like a celebrity in the stands. It's a ball player in the stands or something like that. You might go back and forth with them just on, like, as a thrill, just to talk some trash or something like that. Now, because of Twitter and Instagram, all these people get all this liquid courage, all this bravery that think they could just step to anybody and do anything. Y'all know me. Y'all know I don't exactly kick it like that.
I'm just glad that it was Derrick White and not Vincent Goodwill Jr.
Y'all have never seen me in a fight, right? Y'all have never seen me. Y'all have never seen me in a fight. Y'all have never seen me, engage in fisticuffs. But I'm not the dude to steal on. That's all we're gonna say. I ain't the dude to steal on. And good on Derrick White and his people for not retaliating, because that could have got a lot worse. And then he would have been the person that everybody would have been looking at. Oh, you didn't have to do that. You could have retaliated or whatever it was. He didn't retaliate, and that goes against a lot of people's instincts. And I'm kind of glad he didn't, because it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, and that happened out in your on the West Coast, Gary, your hood, West Side. Vinny is Midwest. I'm Northeast. You West Side. Don't act like. Oh, now, Vinny. Now, West Side. What's that?
If you want to call Fort Collins, Colorado, the West Side. Like, I don't know if Cube and Mac 10 and WC would sign off on that, but okay, we can. I think it's interesting. Like, first of all, it was a road game, so he was in a hostile environment. It sounded like guy kind of I watched the video a few times, and the guy kind of backhanded Derrick, and he knocked his hat off or whatever. And it looked like Derrick was trying to kind of figure out what was going on and get involved. And somebody intelligently just say, "Hey, Derrick, like just back up. Like, we don't need NBA star, NBA champion involved in the fight." And now, as the NFL season has started, football season, you see the steady streams of in-game fighting, like, especially at the Raider games, and you just see the all on your Twitter, X, TikTok, whatever feeds. Oh boy, here's the fights at football games, and I just think football games have just gotten to where you just got to be cool. Like, you have to watch out for anything, especially being a celebrity like Derrick White, and you're in hostile territory. You're at Colorado State. You're not it's not a home game. You have to be careful, because somebody, like Sherrod said, could be trying to come at you. There's drunk people talking mess. I mean, I went to a Patriots game last year with my wife, and at that same game, somebody got knocked unconscious and died from a fight with a Dolphins fan. I mean,
you were at the game?
I was at the game. I didn't see it. Yeah. The guy walked up, what you talking about? And the guy hit him, and his head hit the pavement, and that was it. He died, like, at the game that I attended. So you got to be careful at these events like that. If you're not sitting amongst your, Colorado fans or the fans of the team you're rooting for, which is all good, and you're mixing it up like that, like you said, Sherrod, it's a night game. It was a Saturday night game. Alcohol is flowing. People have been tailgating all day, and they get the liquid courage. Derrick's got to be a little bit more careful than that. It might be time to live that sweet life, that that luxury box life, where I'm sure the university president has no problem putting them up in a place where him and his family can go and just chill and be safe, where the AD is and the basketball coach is and all the other kind of dignitaries of Colorado, because just being amongst the people, Derrick ain't about that life no more, and he got to be careful, because you just, like you said, somebody's trying to make a video, somebody's trying to go viral, and if you're Derrick, and he doesn't have that type of disposition, we all don't know, maybe Derrick had a couple of cold ones himself. We don't know his state of mind, but he's got to be careful of that, and he needs people around him, and luckily, whoever it was, the people just kind of Derrick, back up. I think he's trying to get his hat back, because his hat got knocked off. Hey, let the hat go, man. We'll get you another Colorado hat. No worries. Let's just be cool, man, because obviously somebody was recording it. Somebody had it on tape. Like, it was, and Derrick was all up in the video. Just a nod to our friend Suge Knight. Derrick was all up in the video.
Hey, are we allowed to say that? Because both of them dudes is in jail.
Yeah, well, I ain't saying no other guy just got arrested. I ain't gonna mention him, but I'm talking about his rival that he said, he said that 30 years ago, all up in the video. You don't want to be all up in the video anymore. That's not a good thing.
Damn, Vinny, it just dawned on me, Vinny. What if they get in the same cell block?
No, he going to club. No, did he going to Club Fed? Ain't maybe not Club Fed, but he doing Fed time.
He might get fed to the jail club. because that's another story for another day. Back to Derrick White, because I'm reading Gary's mind. This is how Gary wrote. Gary's like, stay away from that. Stay away from that.
Let's move on to Celtics. It's a podcast.
Gary, you said something, Gary, that I thought was interesting. Though when you're talking about Derrick White being amongst the people, that's who he is. And the idea that Derrick White would be up in a sweet box at a football game.
He's not a regular guy anymore. He's as much as a Colorado alum, and he goes.
But you know that.
But
you know that, and I know that, but you know that.
You're at a road game. One, you're not at home. It was at Colorado State, so he took the drive from Boulder to Fort Collins. So there's going to be people there, saying expletive to him because they're Colorado State fans. And here comes one of Colorado's finest, and then some guy just took a swipe at him. I mean, people don't care. So and then someone, quite honestly, the camera phone was ready to go because they got the first punch, and then somehow, oh my God, just like the Jordan Poole video, TMZ got their hands on it. Boy, I wonder how that happened. People ain't playing no more. They put you on video. They gonna call TMZ. Okay, 50,000. Okay, here's my Venmo, and here's the video. Because we still don't know, Vinny, who sent that video of Draymond going Mike Tyson and Jordan.
They know. They know.
But we don't know how that got to TMZ. But
I hope whoever shot it got a nice grip for that, because that's facts. That's one of the videos that over time the value. If you haven't, I believe there's an audience for people who pay to find out who that was. I bet you it's to the point where you don't even need to see the video anymore. You've seen it. Who paid? Someone would literally pay for that knowledge. Facts.
Oh, but they know who did that. Yeah. That team know who did that. That ain't no secret. They tell us.
Nah. But look, bottom line is, kids out there, no fighting at the football games unless you're playing. And even if you're playing, fight within the rules. Fight for your position. Fight for your line of scrimmage. But don't fight each other.
Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 players' stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. That's right. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. While daily fantasy lineups are cool, you can also get in on season-long projections as well. Should you go more or less on Patrick Mahomes throwing for 4,300 yards? And what about Aaron Rodgers and 3,750 yards passing? How about Tyreek Hill having more or less than 1,376 yards receiving? Or Saquon Barkley rushing for more than or less than 1,050 yards? Get in on the action by downloading the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, run your game.
You're looking at the Celtics. Let's get back to the Celtics. The Celtics, you got some cats who are trying to fight for a spot in the NBA. The Celtics are filling out the back end of that training camp roster. Reportedly, they work out Nasir Little. And for those who don't remember him, because if we keep it in a buck, he's easy to forget. He was taken in the 2019 draft. He was like the 25th overall pick, which for folks who, talking to the president of the Grant Williams fan club, Gary Washburn, he went 3 spots after Grant Williams did that year, just if you keep a score at home. Now, Gary, I'm going to start with you. What do you think the chances of Nasir Little actually making it through training camp and having some role with the Celtics, whether it's obviously with the main team, which I doubt, but what about that G League squad?
Well, it all depends. I know he worked out for other teams too.
Right.
We'd have to choose the Celtics. He's a guy, it's funny. Like, if you look at those COVID drafts, the 21 draft and the 20 draft, there's a lot of misses, man. Like, you could just tell that there's a lot of guys that didn't get a chance to work out for teams. if you check the NBA and WNBA drafts from those 2 years, there's just a lot of swings and misses. And Nasir Little's a kid who probably left school too early.
Oh, he did.
You know, he should have stayed his ass in North Carolina a couple of more years, got that seasoning, played under Hubert Davis a couple of more years, and then probably been a higher pick. He had kind of established himself with Phoenix. He signed a nice little contract, but he was part of that DeAndre Ayton deal. And the Suns, for whatever reason, just cut bait on him, even with, I think, 3 years. I think he had 3 years, $7 million, something like that. Like he signed a little kind of an extension that was a minor, a little bit above the minimum. So he got money because he had, the contract. He had like 2-3 years left in his deal, but he's just got to find a niche. And I just think probably the best place for him is might be a team that he can get some significant minutes on and get. Yeah, I don't think him playing for Maine is going to do anything good for him in terms of besides getting a 10-day. I think he needs to go to a team that needs, unless he just like, hey, the Celtics maybe offer him, but that 15th roster spot is likely going to Lonnie Walker, unless they do something with like Jaden Springer or something like that, unless they make a move that's unexpected.
Would they even keep 15? Like when you look at the money that the Celtics, that the Celtics have spent and they have committed, and you hear about ownership and everything else, you see teams a lot of times keep that 15 spot open just because they don't see it necessarily being worth anything, or you keep a two-way guy in there where you can keep his days down and you don't have to pay him a guaranteed amount of money. Like it seems crazy when you're paying Jaylen Brown, $50 million, Jason Tatum, $50 million or whatever, but teams will pinch pennies if they can. And they will try to make that budget a wee bit tighter. So if they feel like, hey, we don't have any health problems, you know what I mean? Like Porzingis is going to be a guy that you got to worry about. Of course, Horford is a guy with his advanced age. You want the profile of a guy that you want is probably, I suspect, to be somebody bigger, somebody who play more 4-5 than 3-4. A guy like Lonnie Walker. But every team is going to bring in a guy like that, a higher first-round pick or even a later first-round pick just to kick the tires and see if there's anything there. I'm surprised that Phoenix didn't keep him, but I think it was a numbers-crunching thing for Phoenix too.
Yeah. And the Celtics, they added another Exhibit 10 guy, a big guy, Dmitro Skapintsev. I butchered his name, but I'm not too worried about it because he's going to be up in Maine and I ain't going to see him. So they added him to an Exhibit 10 contract. He's probably going to be up in Maine the entire season for the most part. But they'll get a chance to see what he can do in training camp. Don't have any realistic expectation that he's going to do anything. He played for the Knicks and got in like 2 games, and that tells you a lot because the Knicks had some serious issues at the center position. And he still wasn't someone that figured in any way, shape, and form into their future. And so the fact that he was available, I think, says a lot about, his chances of playing. But you're right, Vinny. I mean, I think the Celtics, as much as I think they like Lonnie Walker, I think ultimately they're going to keep him like close but not occupying that 15th spot just because you're not going to get much bang for your buck in that regard. He's talented, don't get me wrong. But your biggest need is in the middle. You're going to go into the season leaning heavy on Al Horford, leaning heavy on, bigs that, frankly, aren't all that. I mean, Tillman I like. I think Tillman could be pretty good. But Tillman's got some health issues, too. And Luke Cornett is Luke Cornett. I mean, he's your third center. As our boy Bobby Manning likes to point out, he's your third center. So what do you expect? And that's kind of my point. He's never going to be much more than your third best center. And so I suspect that the Celtics are going to keep that 15th spot open for the most part and hope that a really good big just happens to fall out of favor with someone and they can just scoop them up, pennies on the dollar, and just give them a little more depth at the big position. Because I still think the Celtics, they're going to need to add another impact player, someone who can at least stem the tide a little bit in that front court. Because I feel a little uncomfortable with their center position. I don't know how you feel about that, Gary. I mean, how do you feel about them in just that particular position? Because it seems to be their biggest weakness and area where they might get exposed.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to go center by committee with Al probably starting and then Luke and then Xavier. Then our friend Nemias Queta is still he signed an extension, so he's back. So that's 4 bigs. That's 4 centers on your team. I don't know if you're going to need 5. out of a 15-man roster. That's why I think Lonnie Walker's safe. I think this Dimitri kid is probably headed to Maine, and he's going to work out with the team and obviously get a shot to play in the G League. But I think they're pretty set on their roster at this point now. They might keep some flexibility open just in case, let's say, somebody surprisingly gets cut. Like you look at rosters like Oklahoma City's. There's a couple of teams that got like 17 guys in there, and they're going to have to make some difficult cuts. Now, so the Celtics, I think, will wait until that, mid October, October 20th or whatever, when rosters are set for that opening night on the 22nd to set their roster and figure out who we can, who they can pick up, maybe bring on to a non-guaranteed deal or even a G League offer or whatever. You never know. They might make a move with one of the two-way guys. You got the two-way guys with Anton Watson, Drew Peterson, and what's the kid from Alabama?
You talking about
J.D. Davidson. Those are your three two-ways. They could sacrifice one of those guys and get one of these guys that they like on a two-way deal if that goes down. So, Brad seems going to keep his roster flexibility, but I think they couldn't pass up Lonnie Walker, and I just think they desperately need a guy like that who can get them buckets off the bench when Tatum and Brown are off.
Did you just say desperately need it?
For their bench? Yes.
Yeah.
They need somebody.
Wait, this team won 64 games last year.
Yes.
They romped through the Eastern Conference playoffs. They walked through the NBA Finals, and we're using the word desperate.
Their bench? Yes, I think their
context,
bench,
please, gentlemen. That's all I'm saying. Context.
You don't want Jason and Jalen be playing high minutes, and Porzingis' offense is gone for the first 3 months. So you need a guy to come off the bench. I mean, is that Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser? But Lonnie is an athlete, 25 years old, who can get buckets. I mean, we saw him in Brooklyn the last couple of years. And I said he didn't play a whole lot of meaningful games because he's playing with the Nets, but the dude can score. And I think that's exactly what this team has needed now for a while. They haven't had like instant offense off the bench because you want to be able to give those guys, Jason and Jalen, a break and still be able to competitively score. So to me, I think there's a necessary need for Lonnie Walker.
Well, whose minutes he going to take? Hauser's? Pritchard's? Because somebody's going to be watching while he balling. They can't. It's still 5-on-5.
Yeah, but I think it's a backup two. He'll be the two, right? So if you play Hauser at the 3 and you play Peyton Pritchard at the 1, I think there's a slot there for him. Now, Brissett? He didn't play much, but he did have a role early in the season. So you can kind of slide him into those minutes. They'll figure it out. Joe will play 9 or 10 guys. I think that they'll be fine, but I think that they definitely need a dude to get buckets off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely would help. There's no doubt about that. I just wonder, and we've talked about this before. Joe loves all his players, but he don't trust them equally. And I just wonder how that's going to play out. Because I could easily see a scenario where Lonnie Walker plays like 2 or 3 games and get you like 11 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, shoot 55% from the field and 45% from three-point line, and then goes 5 DNP CDs. And you're just like, wait, what just happened? I'm not sure that Joe is going to – if Lonnie's going to get enough opportunities to gain his trust. I don't have any questions about Lonnie being able to impact the game when he does play. I just don't know if it's going to be sustainable. I think he's going to be just kind of a guy that they throw in here and there without committing to him.
Looking at the guards on the roster that they have. Okay, here are the guards that they have. Okay, Jason. Okay, so their starting 5 will be Jason, Jalen, Drew, Derrick, and Al. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now there's Ron Harper, who's going to be there in training camp. He's not making the team. J.D. Davidson, Baylor Shireman, who's a rookie. Pritchard. Jordan Walsh, who's a 3, kind of a 2-3, but he's not really a scorer. And that's it. Those Those are your guards in turn. So who's going to score? Who's a backup shooting guard?
Probably Jordan Walsh.
Yeah.
Who's really more of a 3 than a 2.
So who do you trust over? You trust Jordan Walsh, who's 19, still 19, or still just turned 20, or Lonnie Walker? Like, to me, there's a definitive role for Walker as the backup 2 if he's right, if he's healthy, if he does everything he's supposed to do in camp. Because unless you really trust Baylor Shireman, we don't know yet. Like I said, like Drew Peterson, who's on a 2A, Davidson's a point guard. J.D. Davidson's a point guard. So that backup 2 position could be, or Jaden Springer, who's kind of your backup 2, but Jaden's more of a defender. He's not a scorer. Now he scored well in Summer League. He looked comfortable, putting the ball in the hoop in Summer League. But we'll see what happens when camp starts.
Now, Springer, he's more of that Avery Bradley kind of backup, too. I mean, he can get you some buckets every now and then, but he's in the league because he can defend. That is why he's in the league, no question about it. I wanted us to talk a little bit about the Celtics ownership situation. Obviously, everyone and their mama knows that the Celtics are available to be bought. And one of the leading names that has been talked about to become a majority owner of the Boston Celtics is Steve Pagliuca, who currently is a minority owner. But apparently, Steve, who already is involved in other professional teams besides the Celtics, as far as from an ownership standpoint, is apparently, or reportedly, I should say, in talks to buy the Parisian soccer team Red Star FC. Now, it is not clear how much of that team that he might be looking to buy, but obviously the idea that he might be buying another pro team that doesn't necessarily call itself the Boston Celtics, it makes people wonder if maybe he's out of the race to be a majority owner of the Celtics. And what do you think about just the prospect of him kind of having these conversations with another sport, another team in another country? Do you anticipate that might impact his interest in the Celtics? I'm gonna start with you, Gary, because I'm gonna start with you.
Man, I don't know. I mean, honestly,
I'm done with you. I'm gonna go to Vin.
Pags wants to own the Celtics. I think he's putting together a group to make a competitive bid for the Celtics. So I don't know how much buying a soccer team is going to affect him unless he knows he's out of it already.
And see, that's right. That's my concern.
Told him, we're not selling to you, my man. Get the step in, and he's decided to purchase another professional sports team. But this ownership is not going to go fast. Like, this is not going to happen fast. One, the NBA is very interested in this sale, right? Because one, they want to know how much it's going to cost, and they want to know how much, depending on how much the Celtics cost, how much they're going to charge the buyers of maybe Seattle and Las Vegas for their team so they can distribute the wealth to the other 30 owners. So the NBA is sitting there like this. Now, Silver's not going to get involved, but Silver might have a say in the ownership group or might just have some suggestions in terms of a price, because the owners want to get paid, especially with this apron, all these new, everybody's up for a $50 million deal now. The owners want to make a killing off the expansion fees. So, because there's going to be 2 more teams, it's going to be Seattle and Las Vegas unless something really wrong happens, especially with Seattle. I think Seattle's a lot. Mm-hmm. So they're going to, the owners are very observant, and the commissioner, what happens in Boston, because this is a benchmark franchise. So it'll be very fascinating. Is there somebody who will come out of the blue and just say, here's $6 billion, just give me the damn team? Or is it going to be a group headed by a famous professional athlete or some famous name like Minnesota is trying to do with A-Rod? This will be fascinating.
But that's the thing I was going to say, Gary. The league does not want something similar that happened with the Timberwolves.
Right.
So the Timberwolves went initially for lower than what they're worth now, and now you've got Glenn Taylor saying, hey, I want to get back into business here. Y'all don't have the cash. Y'all don't have the liquid for this.
It was like they had like a layaway plan for the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
You can do layaway plan for no damn NBA team.
Look, dog, I grew up on layaway, all right? I'm off of that life now, but I'm just saying, like you could lay away.
For you, me, and Gary, that's one thing. For a damn NBA team, hell no. Show me the money. I need to see it right now. Put them bricks right in front of me right now. I ain't trying to hear no layaway.
But I think nobody has lit like that up front anyway. Like, everybody's going to be on some sort of mortgage plan, so to speak. What the NBA doesn't want, and Gary has alluded to it, remember, the first team that went for an exponential number, I want to say, was the Clippers when Steve Ballmer bought them. And they were supposed to go for something like 1.2, 1.3, and Ballmer paid $2 billion for them. So that basically, rising ships lift all tides, and every team subsequently, because of that, I think Houston went for a huge number after that. I think some other teams went for larger numbers after that.
Milwaukee went for 3 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Milwaukee went for 3. So I think and here's the other thing for the Celtics. How much does a team go for when you don't own your own building? The building is old. The problem with Boston is ain't no place for you to build another building. Even if you want to get another building, they're probably not going anywhere. But I wonder how the building itself, the TD Garden or whatever the hell they call it, it's like they change the name every 90 days. You know what I mean? Like, what this building means as far as that goes. And then subsequently, like you said, the NBA owners want their cut. They want their cash from whomever these new people are going to be. Don't forget, y'all, the NBA has changed their rules to allow like some of those other entities to start buying into the NBA. The Saudis, you want their money to come into it. All money is green to some degree, what the NBA is saying. So yeah, it's going to be very fascinating to see what this number is and who does it.
Yeah, because I mean the issue that the NBA. Go ahead, Gary. You about to say something?
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that the thing about the NBA, and you touched on this a minute ago, Vinny, about just them basically wanting to get paid, and hopefully they have learned from the mistakes that have gone through with Minnesota, because Minnesota was like the perfect storm for drama. A team that probably could have sold for a little bit more than they sold for. That the group that bought them basically bought them on layaway. And then acted like they owned it. This ain't Rent-A-Center where you can just put a little money down and you own it. No, that's not how this works. And then Glenn Taylor realized maybe I shouldn't have. He realized after the fact that he probably shouldn't have put them in play when he did. And now he's trying to play like old school Deion Sanders and go back in coverage and cover everything. Can't do that. You can't do that. The NBA is trying to make sure that the Celtics get it right. They're trying to make sure, because if the Celtics get it right, everybody getting it right. They get paid, we all get paid. And you're right. I mean, I think Silver is going to be much more involved and engaged in this sale than he was in any previously. Because this is one of your foundational franchises. This isn't just like a pretty good squad. This is like one of your originals, your OGs. And so it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. I'm also interested to hear what Mr. Goodwill Jr. Is thinking about heading into this NBA season. What are some of the storylines that you had on for Yahoo Sports?
I mean, look, I think the Celtics are delightfully boring, right? I think the most interesting thing about their team is Jason Tatum didn't get to play during the Olympics, so he's going to give Steve Kerr a 50 ball. And Jaylen Brown, he was too black for the Olympics, so they didn't take him. All right, cool. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever, right?
Vinny,
what?
I don't know who the hell that was, but I know him. Me and him been drinking before. I know that dude.
I'm just saying. So, no, I think the Celtics as champions are always generally interesting. But what's going on in Philadelphia, where you add Paul George to Joel Embiid and that band of merry underachievers. You know what I mean? Like let's be perfectly honest. The 76ers have not gone to the conference finals since my junior year of high school, which was a very long time ago. They don't just have to get to the finals. They got to at least get to the conference finals. Like, we done seen the Toronto Raptors get to the conference finals before, and the 76ers haven't over the past 2.5 decades. So I think they pushed all their chips to the center of the table. I think they're a fascinating team when you look at them versus the context of like the Celtics, when you look at Embiid's size and you look at Paul George against Brown and Tatum and how that matches up. And of course, Tyrese Maxey once again taking more steps, towards stardom. Like that's something interesting to me. Ja Morant going back to Memphis, like if there's something that we've learned over the past week is that if you don't tell us you're doing stuff on Instagram Live, we won't know what you're doing on Instagram Live. Ja Morant has figured out how to keep us off of his business because he did not go on Instagram Live with the audio, right? Or the video. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very fascinated by what Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies are going to do in a stacked Western Conference. Like when he's healthy, when they're right, they got Marcus Smart over there who was supposed to come over there and be their vet, and it didn't work out. But you still got the bones of a really good roster that can win 50 games and really be a contender in a Western Conference that I wouldn't say is top heavy, right? I think it's mid heavy. It's a bunch of teams in the West that can win somewhere between 47 and 52 games and be scary in the playoffs, but not necessarily teams that you'll really fear. So those are like the two of the biggest things for me. You know, of course, you know, with the Knicks and then Jimmy Butler in Miami, this could be his last year. It's a lot of different things going on, but those two are the top things that I'm paying attention to right now.
Summertime is winding down, but the college football season will be in full swing before you know it. There's no better way to get your college football fix than Game Time, which is where you can find the best deals on college football game tickets, concerts, NFL, WNBA, and so much more. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff, so show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The one college football game I'm looking forward to seeing this year is when my alma mater, Syracuse University, comes to my neck of the woods and takes on the Boston College Eagles. There's a great selection of seats starting as low as, get this folks, $3. That's right. $3 can get you in the building. Having the map of the stadium along with the different color-coded prices makes it super easy to find the best seats for your budget and not have to scramble all over the place on your app to do so. And you're covered by Game Time's lowest price guarantee, where Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Hey, Gary, what about you, Gary? Obviously you spend a lot of time around the Celtics, but outside of the Celtics, what are you hot on heading to the season? Because it's going to be here in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the Western Conference, just looking at the West, I mean, it is it's treacherous because you've got, okay, everybody's picking OKC's the Vogue pick to get to the finals. They got Alex Caruso. They got Isaiah Hardenstein. They got rid of Josh Giddey. This is the year they make the run. Jalen Williams going to take a step forward. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander taking that step forward. They're a good young team. They re-upped a lot of the young guys. But then what about Dallas? Dallas now with Clay, Najee Marshall, and Quentin Grimes add to the roster. They got rid of Tim Hardaway Jr., Derrick Jones Jr. But what about Dallas? What about Minnesota? Does Minnesota learn its lesson from that Dallas series? Is Rudy Gobert ready to make another impact and potentially a fifth defensive player of the year? Rudy Gobert, I mean, hey, he can go for 5. He might, Vinny, he might be paying the 5. So he might be paying the 5. So what about Minnesota? And then what about
OKC,
Minnesota, Denver is in there, and then New Orleans with DeJounte Murray. Memphis with, now that they're healthy. Look. Hopefully, I mean, I know Gigi Jackson's already out for a few months now. The good young prospect, but look, like Vinny said, Marcus Smart, John Morant, Brandon Clark is back after missing a year. Jaren Jackson Jr. Are they going to make a run? There's just a lot of just things. Phoenix, what are we going to do? What do we think of Phoenix? Like, is Phoenix going to, with their big 3? There's a bunch. And then we ain't even talked about the Lakers and the Warriors. Are they going to take a significant step back? Is the Olympic thing going to help LeBron and AD? But it's basically the same ass roster. Like D'Angelo Russell opted in, and them fools was like, what? You
sure about this, son? Son, are you sure about this?
That fool opted in, and so he's back. like, but it's basically the same roster as last year. Golden State, like, they lost Clay, but they got Buddy Hield, they got Kyle Anderson, and they got DeAnthony Melton. Like, is Jonathan Kuminga gonna make a step? Like, there is no, besides Portland, like, you could probably say, even like, there is no team, and maybe Utah, there is no team in the West. You're just like, oh, they're terrible. Like, they're not. Like, San Antonio's going to take a step forward with Chris Paul and them young guys, and obviously Wemby.
Everybody can't take steps forward, though.
Yeah.
It's going to be some teams that take steps back.
But somebody is going to be a damn good 28-win team. Like, because they gonna take it on the chin a lot of nights, even though they're better than they were last year. But the West, to me...
Gee, that sounds like my sister talking to some of her homegirls. Man, he a 5, but he a good 5. No, ain't no such thing as a good 5.
High quality 5.
That dude is ugly.
There's going to be teams that are just going to take it on the chin. Because the West is treacherous. I just looked at the West, and it just like you look at the Clippers. Like, who knows? The Clippers lost Paul George, but they got Derrick Jones Jr. They got Nicholas Batum back. And who else?
Personality.
Yeah. I mean, apparently healthy Kawhi and James Desmond Tutu Harden, who did Philadelphia such a favor by saving them money to sign guys. Now he
let this go, Vinny.
He signed a 2-year, $70 million deal. James is still taking y'all money, but somehow someone painted him a sacrifice, a warrior. Someone painted him a team guy for giving up a little bit of money so they could go after guys a couple years ago in Philadelphia. How did that work out?
James Harden.
James left. James got Doc fired and then left on his own. Like, demanded a deal. Trades. How'd that work out? But you got the Clippers. Ty Lue's always been a high-level coach. So there's just a lot of happenings in the West. And I said, we don't know about the Lakers. We don't know, is this the Warriors' last run? Are they a 40-win team? Are they a 48-win team? Are they a 35-win team? It's just, the West to me is fascinating because there's no, unless you count Oklahoma City, there is no great team, but there's a bunch of really good teams. And then New Orleans and Memphis, we ain't talking about Houston. I mean,
Oh, your boy Ime? Do you want us to talk about Ime?
Ime got his weaknesses, but Ime a damn good coach. And them dudes got Sengun back.
Said he got his weaknesses, Green. But Houston ain't going to, being in Houston ain't a bad thing for Ime's weaknesses, huh?
Let's move on. So let's move forward. Let's progress.
So you were saying, Gary,
run the offense. No, get into the offense, Vinny.
Omaha.
Don't look at me.
We just run the triangle. We just run the triangle. That's all.
Yeah, let's go. The shot clock's running out. So, like, we haven't talked about Houston. There's the West is fascinating. The East, I think, and to me, another story is Milwaukee. Like, I picked them 7th in the East, and people are like, you crazy. Like, you tell me. To me, okay, we talk about this. Like, you got the Celtics, the Bucks, the Celtics, the Sixers, and the Knicks. Okay, the Pacers, right? They gonna be the top 6, right? You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I'll buy that.
Orlando, Cleveland, and Miami.
Cleveland, I'm skeptical of. Orlando, I think. Cleveland, I'm not sold on them.
Okay. So
I see them taking a step back.
When Milwaukee's top offseason acquisitions are Taurean Prince and Gary Trent Jr. from a team that didn't do anything last year, they're going to go up. Like, they're a 7th seed, and they're old. So, to me, Milwaukee's fascinating because Giannis is in his prime, but ain't nobody else. It's like prime Ralph, and the rest of New Edition is kind of a step slow. Like, Ralph is doing everything, and Bobby, Ricky, and Mike are like, oh, damn, we that was from the Any Heartbreak album. We ain't got them moves anymore. Like to me, that's the thing. Milwaukee's fascinating. And then you got Doc, who's basically coaching for his coaching life, because if they split, Doc's going to take the blame for that because he took the job. And so Milwaukee, to me, is another fascinating team. I said, I picked them 7. People, oh, you're crazy. But you tell me how they got better in the offseason. Like,
are you saying that Giannis as a top 5 player with relative health? Like, you're basically what you're saying is either A, Giannis is no longer a top 5 player, or B, he's no longer capable of playing more than 65 games in the season. You're saying one of those two things.
I say he's a top 5 player, but I'd say he doesn't have a lot of help. Brook Lopez is 37. Chris Middleton is 32, 33. And often injured. And they added Gary Trent and they added Taurean Prince. Those were 2. They lost Beverly and they lost Malik Beasley. So I'm not saying those are huge losses, but Taurean Prince, like.
You think that Dame is falling off?
I don't think it worked out. I don't think it's worked out in Milwaukee for Dame. Although Dame is still capable of putting up big numbers and all that. To me, the depth of Orlando, and although Orlando needed a point guard and didn't get a point guard, they're going to go with Anthony Black, the second-year guy. Like Markelle Fultz is still out there as a free agent. Like they got, Orlando needed a point guard. Cleveland just kind of re-signed everybody, but if they're healthy, they're a 5th seed, and then I said Indiana brought everybody back. They brought the whole band back. They re-signed everybody. So to me, where do you put Milwaukee? Vinny, where do you put Milwaukee?
I still put Milwaukee in the top 4. Wow. I think Damian Lillard, coming off the divorce, not going personal, but this stuff is public knowledge. He went through the divorce last year. It was a late trade. I think if he is still himself, now he's a small guard who's had injuries, and at age 33, 34?
34, right?
Like you start to see the fall off. Like you saw Gary Payton start to fall off at 34. Jason Kidd was still reasonably effective at 34. Magic was retired. Isaiah was retired. Allen Iverson started to fall off at around 32, 33. So if he's going to buck that trend, in large part because he's a 3-point shooter like Stephen Curry, although on a different level, and we're saying he's more comfortable, he's in shape, and all those things, I think you have 2 high-level players in Giannis and Dame. And in the Eastern Conference, that is going to give you a top 4 seed. I have concerns about Indiana defensively. I have concerns about Tyrese Halliburton's health. Like, I think he was battling some stuff toward the tail end of the Olympics, even though he wasn't playing a lot. I still do believe that he was battling that hamstring. And you guys know from watching Kevin Johnson back in the day, when you have that first hamstring injury, you continue to have hamstring injuries. Like, it doesn't really necessarily leave you. Like Sherrod, you saw Chauncey Billups have hamstring injuries towards the tail end of his career, in Detroit, and that kind of precipitated a lot of other things. So I'm not sure what Miami's going to do. Like, if you're saying, Terry Rozier, with that, Miami Heat sort of culture, and Jimmy Butler's going to play more than 65 games. All right, cool. But I would have to see it. I think if you have Giannis with health and you have Dame being a reasonable version of himself, that's a 50-win team.
I think with Miami, I just think, one, we all know, and you've seen him in person, live and in person, Vinny, Jimmy in a contract year, because Jimmy about his paper, right? Jimmy.
Now you saying Jimmy gonna perform, or you saying Jimmy gonna agitate?
No, well, he'll do both. But he'll perform because Jimmy's money is on the line, and the last few years his money was not on the line, right? He felt like he did real good by getting into the finals in 23, which he did, because that was an A-seeded team. That was not a finals caliber team, but the Celtics tripped up and Spo out-coached Missoula and whatever. But I think, one, Spo's got something to prove, because Miami was kind of laughed. People aren't taking him as seriously as they probably should. Hero, Rozier, they lost Caleb Martin, but I think fully healthy, I think the addition of the kid Khalil Ware, him playing the starting 5 and moving Bam to the 4, is going to really unleash Bam. Bam's learning how to shoot threes, and people were laughing at me when I saw him in the Olympics hitting threes. I was like, okay, y'all think I'm playing. Well, it's a shorter line in the Olympics, but he's still hitting 22-footers. Like, Bam, I'm not talking about he's going to be a 42% three-point shooter, but he is going to unleash his game, and I think Miami will be a 5 or 6 seed. So I just didn't see Milwaukee do enough, and I love Doc. We all love Doc, but it didn't work. You look at Dame's numbers last year, Vinny. He shot 42% from the field after 46 the previous year, and 35% from three after 37, like an average 8 less points. Now, he took 3 less shots, but is that slippage? You know what I'm saying? Is that the slippage that we're kind of talking about? Like, that might be the slippage. It might be, like you're right. Dame had some personal issues. Unfortunately, he didn't go. He wasn't in Milwaukee in a good place mentally. He had to leave his family. You get thrown into Milwaukee after being in Portland all those years. He thought he was going to Miami and being on South Beach, and that's as we know, there's a difference between Milwaukee and Miami.
You don't say.
And the only thing they have is they both start with M. In similarity is that so maybe
like Chicago and Cleveland, where a convention gonna be next year. Big difference between those two places.
Oh boy. Anyway, move on. I ain't had no Cleveland brothers after me. I ain't having no Cleveland got some dudes. I ain't having them after me about ripping they city.
I'm good with Cleveland, especially security at the arena. Yeah. I'm good with Cleveland security at the arena.
Them Cleveland dudes at the arena be choking.
Oh, the dudes with the Jerry curl.
It's not a Jerry curl, Vinny. It's a slick back.
In a ponytail. In a ponytail, right?
Yeah, that's 6'6", dude. That's 6'6", dude. I still
the dude that's 6'6" height and 6'6" biceps. Yeah, that dude.
He looked like Uncle Ruckus minus like the bad eye.
Well, the fact is there's a list, Vinny, and I'm sure you have a list too, of dudes over 60 that you still would not step to. Right? It might be not be.
I was at the Paul Silas and he dead. Yeah, I was at the Paul Silas and the man's dead.
Exactly.
That's a smart move.
He is on that list. He is on that. The Cleveland security guy. I don't know his name. He's a good guy. He on that list. He tell me if every other media member go in the locker room and he tell me the locker room closed, I'm staying outside the locker room till he tell me it's open.
Man, you better man up.
Locker room closed for you. Oh,
you better man up.
I ain't stepping in. I ain't taking the beat. I ain't taking the beat down.
See, Gary, why do Gary got to turn me into Scrappy Doo every time? You know what I mean?
You are, Vinny.
You are. That's come on.
Vinny do?
That's pretty appropriate.
Vinny do?
Pretty appropriate. You are Marty Marr. You're the one challenging middleweight champion Tommy Hearns to a fight because he tried to flirt with your girl. That is Vinny. If that ain't Vinny,
the brawl for it all.
You call him you call Tommy Hearns the get hit man.
Look, man. If a boxer hit on my woman, then I'm having to talk with my woman. Like I ain't talking to the boxer. Like that's a losing proposition. It's baby, we leaving.
Google Tommy Hearns and Martin, and y'all will come up with the episode, and y'all will know what we're talking about. If you don't know what we're talking about, but to me, is that with Lillard? Is that the slippage that we're seeing, or is that just a bad year? We don't know. We don't know. I'm not making a determination, but to me, Dame is your number 2, and an injured Middleton. Middleton's the guy, and we've seen him. I mean, that dude. He is on the all-time Celtic killer list. We've seen that guy for years, put it down on the Celtics, but he's just not – he can't stay healthy anymore, and he's only 33. So we'll see. I just think there's too many variables for Milwaukee to say, oh, they're a top 14. But, what do you think, Sherrod? Come on.
Milwaukee is going to be in that 4 through 6 range. I mean, a lot's just going to depend on how healthy they are, whether Dame can be Portland Dame or – somewhere between that and what we saw last season. If he's closer to Dame from Portland, they're going to be top 4, top 5. But if he comes back and plays like we saw last season or worse, they may not even make the damn playoffs. They might be playing bound. Facts. I mean, that's how important he is to what they're about. And if his game continues to fall off, they don't really have recourse. They don't have anyone they can look to and say, well, if this guy steps up, we'll be all right. No, they don't got anybody like that. I mean, if you're looking for Taurean Prince to be that dude, you're going to keep looking. You're going to be looking for
my man Bobby Portis.
Yeah, Bobby.
I like Bobby. I can't be mad at Bobby.
No, we love Bobby.
You got Pat Bev out the locker room, so you ain't got to worry about that. Bit of. Are you listening to my podcast nonsense?
We'll see. Like, who knows? Maybe Gary Trent Jr. has a career year playing on a minimum deal. Like, it's just, to me, there's just so much variables that have to happen. And then you look at the other teams, like Orlando adding KCP, even though to me it still bothers me. Y'all need a point guard. Y'all had trouble scoring, and y'all get a 3-and-D guy, and y'all still ain't got a point guard. Like,
Tyus Jones was screaming at them. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't go and get a Tyus Jones.
I don't understand Orlando. I guess Anthony Black's the answer. We'll see. He had some moments during his rookie year, but and then Cleveland and then Indiana. And then as I said, there's other teams. I mean, but the thing about the East, I mean, it's going to be some cold days in Chicago, cold days in Washington. We don't know about Atlanta. We don't. Toronto. There's going to be some bad basketball in some of the East Coast teams. The West, I can't say that. The East, it's going to be some hard days. Some of the East Conference teams.
Well, that's good for us because that gives us plenty to talk about heading into this season. And on that note, we're going to call it a day. Folks, thanks for tuning in to the Big 3 NBA podcast with our special guest, Vinny Goodwill Jr. of Yahoo Sports, and myself, Sherrod Blakely, and Gary Washburn back. And a special shout out to our people at Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media Network, and also our good friends at Game Time, which takes the guesswork out of buying last-minute tickets to your favorite sporting events. So for Gary Washburn, Vinny Goodwill, this is Sherrod Blakely. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you when we see you.